What's up, everybody? Metal Dave here, along with my co-host Jason McMaster, bringing you another episode of the Talk Louder podcast. Today, we are joined by Venom Inc. frontman Tony Dolan, and what a pleasure it was talking to him. This guy is full of energy, full of passion, that's for sure. It comes across in everything he does. You know him mostly as a musician, but he's also done some work in Hollywood. He's done some acting. He was in a movie with Russell Crowe, a movie with Sylvester Stallone. But primarily
those would be Master and Commander, and then Judge Dredd.
Yeah, Judge Dredd.
Yeah, he was extra work. He was. He may or may not have had some talking points, but we're just trying to get you to fire up your favorite movie app so you can try to find Tony in the back. So
yeah. You know, it seems, when he's talking about the acting, I don't want to get sidetracked on the acting, but once you people get to watch and listen to him, you'll just see how quickly he's just a natural. He's just so He's so easygoing and such a talker and so full of energy and so full of life. You could totally see him being an actor. And he's got a look. He looks like a classic Hollywood villain to me.
He's smart. He's smart.
He was so much fun. We learned all about his beginnings, the band Atomkraft, part of the new wave of British heavy metal back in the late 70s, going into the early 80s. We learned that he crossed paths with Kronos from Venom all the way back in those days when they were barely out of their teens. So there's some interesting parallels there. Of course, Tony then stepped in for Venom, for Kronos, and became the frontman of Venom. And then, of course, that morphed into Venom Inc., which is where he is today. He's gearing up for a tour. He'll be in America by the time you hear this and watch this episode. It'll be just weeks away, I imagine. So keep an eye out for Venom Inc. on the road in North America. But what a great guy. This is one of those episodes where Jason booked the guy. I didn't have a whole lot of background on him. And what a lovely, 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 interesting, cool guy.
Yeah, he's the coolest. I was actually introduced to Tony years ago at Come and Take It Live here in Austin on a Venom Inc. tour. A friend of mine, Killjoy, front person for Necrophagia, who has passed on. I was pen pals with Killjoy for years and years since the early 80s. And anyway, he was partially instrumental in bringing Venom Inc. over. And this has been years ago now, but I'll never forget meeting Tony Dolan, because I thought the things that you're saying and realizing today after hanging out with him, I noticed in a 5-minute chat with him.
Sure. It's apparent right away.
Yeah. And incredible what he's done with Venom Inc. and keeping those songs alive, and fucking legit. It's legit. He sounds amazing on the Venom material. He's made records with that lineup as Venom Inc. And he just has a lot of passion for all things Venom, as well as just music and art himself. Huge thanks go out to Sean at Laughing Monkey Music for turning me on to Tony's email address and ultimately getting him on the show. So thank you very much, Sean. We are forever in debt for that.
Yes,
and Tony was great today. Please, everyone, enjoy this episode as much as we did. It's probably one of my favorites, and a great way. Today is the 29th of December. And so you'll be watching this episode in 2025, and this may or may not be probably our third episode of the new year. So please enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Tony Dolan today on the Talk Louder podcast.
Hey, man. How are you?
Hey, Jay. How are you?
You doing good?
Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you. A very merry season and an almost happy new year.
Yeah, same to you. This is my buddy Dave.
Hey Dave, how are you?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Yeah, nice to meet you, bro. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. Top of the morning to you. It's 9 o'clock in the morning here in Texas.
Oh my God, yeah, I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, it's a moody, rainy, foggy London town at 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
That sounds just like my fantasy of London town.
Yeah, it's definitely been, the weather's always shit here anyway, as you well know. But yeah, we actually got the fog too, so it feels like it's Jack the Ripper time. I feel like wandering down to Whitechapel and having a walk around.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I love that legendary story. Are you near there? Are you near Whitechapel?
Yeah, it's not so far. It's maybe about 20 minutes if I get the tube and go out there. But
Wow.
there's still one of the because I'm a history buff anyway. My major was American history, particularly the Indian Wars and the Civil War. But I love it. That's what I love about London or major cities anyway, because you always discover something. I mean, I'm 30 years in this city, and I still find out things I walk past every day and didn't know was there. So you're constantly discovering. But there's one place in Whitechapel which is exactly as it was when one of the Ripper murders took place. It looks exactly the same. So it's kind of cool. When I have friends coming over, I take them to some, like the Knights Templar, Temple Church and all that shit, and then I take them there, and because it's exactly the same. I got some old photographs which show the murder scene, and then they're like, oh shit, it's exactly that. So on a day like this, when you do get fog, which is kind of rare these days, it's brutal to take someone there. They shit themselves because it's so real spooky. Perfect.
Wow, it becomes a reality and not just
absolutely
a storybook, right?
Yeah,
wow,
it's like
that's cool.
I was in Gettysburg once, and on a sunny day, and it's just a bunch of fields, and you hear all the stories, you see the monuments. But I went there once, and it was early in the morning, and we parked up, and I just sort of got off the tour bus and wandered through because I was like, I want to go there the next day, but I got up so early, it's maybe about 6 o'clock or something. Mm-hmm. Everybody was asleep, and I went out wandering, and the mist was coming down. Fuck, man, it sends shivers up your spine. You got a totally different perspective on what happened there. So,
what's grand is our imagination as artists and being able to like scare the crap out of ourselves just because the fucking weather and time of day.
Totally. Yeah. The light, all that diffusion stuff. That's what's amazing, and what we love about being artists is our imagination just does everything for us,
So if you're an American history buff, we're in Texas. Do you have any recollections or any visits to the Alamo?
Oh, of course, yeah. It's a gotta go place, I mean, I remember. Probably one of the things, one of my father's big things was Western movies. So every Sunday we'd, have our lunch and he'd fall asleep watching an old Western. And of course, Richard Widmark and the Duke, the Alamo was like in my brain. So, that's one of the go-to places, the Mexican Wars and the whole, New Mexico and the whole fight for that frontier, and Alamo was the furthest point, and that battle is like, when they talk about 300 or, the last of the Mohicans, the Alamo was one of those iconic places where those men stopped a fucking army, well, they all got killed doing it, but you know what I mean? That was the frontier, and it's like things like that just blow your mind. So, it's kind of weird because when you go there, there's a shopping mall across the street, and it's like just a bunch of shops and souvenir places, and then you walk into the Alamo and you try and connect with what that was, surrounded by hotels and stuff. But it's iconic, and I'm so glad it's still there, and again, your mind creates the world when you're inside there, and reality hits you pretty quick that it's a nice place to visit when we're all comfortable with our pizza inside us and our soda pops and with our shorts on a nice sunny day. But you think about what was actually happening there with those men, you think, wow, that took kind of some special kind of courage, particularly all those events, when you think about the brutality of the War of Independence, those militia fighting a fucking organized army with all that fucking ammunition. That's something special to walk into that and to do it with that freedom reasoning in your head and go, yeah, you're doing the right thing. Takes a special kind of person. I think we could do with some of that real men courage right now, you know, in the world that would go a long way, I think.
Well, when the when the pioneers have to fight the savages, or when the pioneers have to fight the militia, a trained army that has all the ammunition and all the strategic plot in order to take over a region, you're kind of like, you're fucked. You almost want to just lay down and go, just fucking take it, because the woe and the misery, I'm either dead or I'm in misery.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's it. You know, if you're thinking, I did a big journey of exploration across to the North and South Dakota. You know, obviously Crazy Horse Memorial, Lead, Deadwood, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Came past Devil's Mound, and then into Montana, where I went to the Sioux and the Crow Reservation. Of course, the Little Bighorn, and you know the same kind of thing. Then you know there was so many natives, but you were up against something that you were never going to win, and you know that impetus to still keep going when you're up against those incredible odds, you know. But then those stories are littered in World War II and previous to that, and it's how you know those soldiers who did the most incredible things. You know, you think Hamburger Hill and all that kind of stuff. And came at the end as winners. You think, wow, that's something special inside us that keeps us going when all the odds are against us, you know. And you know, so many people get medals and got medals in those things. And in my family, one of his historical forefathers has a Blucher cross. He was at the Battle of Waterloo. That was the only time it became the Iron Cross, but initially it was the Blucher gave those crosses out if you'd served at Waterloo. And you're thinking, to see someone wearing one of those, thinking, holy fuck, not only did they serve there, but they survived it, is mind-blowing in itself, you know. And I think that's a rich part of our history we sometimes forget, we take for granted, and you know, that it's something that we should embrace totally, to go, you know, if those people, you know, hadn't sacrificed, would we be here, you know?
Yeah.
Right,
well, the crosses are like some people wearing crosses. They don't even they're just wearing it as jewelry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not even thinking about what it actually means. And the people that are actually thinking about its origins, they're the ones that are usually walking into their own hornet's nest by bringing it up. It's like, why are you wearing that cross? It could be the cross of the Crusades, or it could be the Iron Cross, and the person's just innocent wearing a fucking piece of jewelry because they thought it looked cool. And so I don't fuck with people like I used to. It's like, hey, do you know what that actually means? You're inviting trouble, and they're like, no, I'm not. I just thought it was pretty.
It just looks good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of fucking crazy. Well, one last history lesson, and then we'll start talking about rocket.
Sorry,
I love it.
This
I love it.
great.
It's great. Yeah, we don't usually get into this tirade. I love it. I love it. I live in just southeast of Austin, Texas.
Oh, okay.
And I live in Plum Creek, and there is the Battle of Plum Creek.
Yes.
Do you know anything about that?
The detailing, etc. But Plum Creek, that was this thing, quite a significant confrontation at Plum Creek.
Yeah, I want to say Comanche.
Yes.
Maybe Comanche.
Yeah, well, it was. It was.
And there was some kind of army that was led by, you know, not a general, but Captain Lockhart, and that's where the name of this little town. There's only 14,000 residents here.
Yeah.
So it's a bit rural, but it's 30 minutes from downtown Austin, Texas. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And again, you know, the whole, I mean, you know, obviously in the world when you think about it, but particularly with America, it's littered with like tiny villages, tiny farmsteads, which were like Bull Run, you know, so significant in the great thing. But with the Indian Wars, with that whole frontier going forward,
Yeah.
you know, those amazing stories come out, and those places, you know, Calico and all, just like nothing towns, like 5-6 houses with a couple of, you know, maybe 50, 60 people living there, and then you know, the army coming in with maybe a 70 line troop, you know, and then you have something that turned a page in the history, you know, which I find mind blowing, you know.
Yeah, because those soldiers staked claim and ended up liking the little village, and they lived there, and they raised their children there, and that's progress.
Yeah, that's it. You know, when you know, when I think about the Bozeman Trail and the looking for the rest of America, and then them, you know, what people eating each other to get through winters to find California, and now you go to San Diego or LA or something, and you think, oh, how lovely this is, beachfront property, and you think what it took people to actually get there, to stay there, and to go, right, this is where we're going to be, and look what it is now. You know, you think, wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. You know, it's so easy to take things for granted. You know. And not know how that nutmeg started and what the sacrifices were of people to create that. So yeah, it's incredible.
Hey, so when you write lyrics, do you steal and borrow and go into this sort of like part of your brain that has this this area of, I'll just say expertise, where you've studied and you take a little bit from that?
I guess
is it just literature of all kinds?
I think it's just literature of all kinds. You know, the thing that always fascinated me was mankind, you know, what we can do and how we create. You know, one of the greatest puzzles that always puzzled me was we can create substances, you know, that we utilize that cause cancer at the same time as we're trying to develop drugs to prevent cancer. And I'm like, right, okay, so asbestos gives us cancer, but we use it, but we need to develop something to stop us getting cancer so we can use asbestos, or we do nuclear fission and drop a nuclear bomb to give people cancer to prevent people dying, but then have to figure out how to save them from cancer. It's like, what? It's an anomaly. We're just an anomaly.
Well,
we're chasing our tails.
Chasing our tail.
They need to develop a bomb to explode that has
it cures everything.
The cure for cancer.
That would be the ultimate, wouldn't it?
A productive bomb.
You drop a bomb and it just cures every disease. That would be fucking brilliant.
A couple of weeks later, you're not in bed anymore, and your hair is growing back, and you've got all.
That would be great. I mean, I've already bought into the hair growing back one. But could I also?
Good for you,
could it just do one extra thing? Maybe spray M&Ms as well, just so you know everybody gets to have some chocolate. That would be the bomb I want. I want that bomb. Let's tell Elon Musk to get on that shit,
right?
And then I'll invest in SpaceX if it comes up with that.
Chocolate flavored cancer cure.
Oh my God! I mean, it's a perfect world.
Jason, I see a Nobel Peace Prize in your future.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm voting for you, Jay. I'm voting for you.
Oh man, what an intro! I had no idea this guy's an expert on American history, his own history.
Well, I don't know if I'm an expert, but I'm interested.
I could go on and on and on with just the history and the war history and American, pastime, if you will.
Yeah.
But I wish you were my history teacher when I was in high school, because I failed that class.
Oh shit! We'd had a blast. Lots of field trips.
Yeah, but we're like the same age, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, listen. How? We don't have to start at the beginning. We don't. Although I'd like to.
Wherever you want.
Newcastle. Yeah. What was it like in Newcastle in 1979, where everybody and their dog wanted to be in a rock and roll band?
Well, yeah, that was exactly it. I mean, it's a very industrial, very grey, very cold area of England, and it's kind of unusual because England's not so big, as you know, and every city is a couple of hours away from each other. But Newcastle's right on the border between Scotland and England, and it's the furthest away from any other city. So it's kind of like its own state, if you like. If you imagine the states, it's kind of like its own enterprise, and so it was quite secluded. You felt at times you're not Scottish, you're not English, you're just your own thing, the Geordies, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, it was very industrial. Coal mining and shipbuilding were its main sources of work. And in the late 70s, we had a lot of problems. The coal mines had been striking, and the coals were, coal was becoming, now nobody wanted to use coal so much. So some of the mines were closing. A lot of people coming out of work, and then the shipbuilding, which is where all my family began. I ended up in the ships doing welding and stuff. And, I hated it, of course, because the weather sucked like fuck. And you were like, listening to corkers and the noise and the dirt. And but my whole family did that, an Irish family. And then they sold the shipyards off. So the shipyards, from where I'm from, Wallsend, which is just outside Newcastle, is a place, a town, which is actually at the end of Hadrian's Wall. During the Roman Empire, Hadrian's Wall, when Emperor Hadrian was building the empire, the Scottish border was the furthest north the Romans ever got, and they couldn't fuck the Scots up, so they built a wall to stop them, to keep them out, because they thought, fuck this, So they just said, let's build a wall to keep them where they are then, if we can't beat them.
Yeah.
And at the end of the wall, that's where I was born, Wallsend, a town called Wallsend. I always said I'd like to have been at that town meeting to watch the guy put his hand up and go, what about Wallsend? Because we're at the end of the wall, and go, fucking genius, he needs a medal. but yeah, so, and the shipyard's closed. So it was like 200,000 people or something crazy like that, out of work overnight. The whole town was out of work. And,
was there a mass exodus where families just exiting?
Well, a lot did have to go, but a lot stayed. And the thing was, it looked like everybody was in shock, because nobody, that was inconceivable that nobody would have a job. Like the next day, all these men who trained all their lives and worked in the shipyards all their life. So there's kind of a scramble to get work. And so out of that, I became very depressed, very poor, very quickly. And I think that the youth culture just needed something. Punk was, punk had happened or was happening. So that was something to latch on to.
Yeah.
And then the new wave came out of that. Because before that, when you looked at the bands, like I saw Case at Cobo Hall when I lived in Windsor, Ontario in the early 70s. And I saw Case at Cobo Hall, 74. And I'd seen Foreigner and Aerosmith, Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
And these were kind of like figures that I thought, wow, I could never do that, because I don't know how you do that thing, that arena thing, that giant stadium kind of rock thing.
Yeah.
And then I got back to the UK about 78, early 78, and punk rock was going on. And they didn't seem to be able to be the best players in the world. There was no real guitar solos. The singers weren't exactly singers like Lou Gramm and Steve Perry and stuff. So I thought, I could do that. So I guess that was like my time. And I thought, well, if I can't work in the shipyards, what else can I do? Why not music, And maybe you can get out of here by doing that. So it became possible, and I think that wasn't just me. That was most of my age, likewise, my peers all felt the same way. This was an escape. If it didn't get you out of that environment, it certainly gave you escape from the shit going on at the time.
Were you and your peers like, okay, well, let's form a band, learn some cover songs, let's play some Uriah Heep, let's play some cool shit, but we have to get a job at a coffee shop or some shit so I can eat and help out my mom and whatever.
Well, I think it was more that if you had an uncle or if you had a family member who had an enterprise, then you could get a job.
Sure.
If it was down to you, that you had no chance because there were no jobs. There were no jobs. And so the government came up with this plan to put people on training schemes. So an employer could take you on. The government gave you like 10 quid a week or something. And the employer didn't have to pay anything, or maybe they had to pay a couple of quid. And so they got you free, basically. And you got to pretend that you had a job to earn like your money.
That's like a grant. That's like getting a grant, a government grant. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like working for benefits, you know.
Well, and it's also like in a probably a way that they didn't feel comfortable saying. They were supporting the arts.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I found it as a positive thing. I mean, I went into a studio. I went into a studio with my punk band about 70. It must have been 78 or very early 70. It was 79, early 79, and the only studio in our town was a recording studio called Impulse Studios, and that became Neat Records.
Yeah.
And I went in there and spoke to the guy in the office who happened to be the in-house engineer. And he said, "Oh, yeah, you want to have a look around to do a demo? Yeah. If you go upstairs, there's a young guy up there. He'll show you around and talk you anything you need to know." So I went upstairs and we met this very young, very pretty, slim, small guy. And his name was Conrad Lant, who became Cronus.
Wow.
Yeah, and he showed us around and we were chatting about stuff, and that was then. You know, years later, of course, we were all mixed in together with girlfriends and where we lived and everything, and, you know, history was the history. But, yeah, that was the first time we actually met. He was working there on one of the government schemes as a kind of T-boy, like a, helper in the studio, plugging stuff up.
A gopher.
Yeah, kind of like a gopher back then, you know,
all right,
his first enterprise.
Well,
and that later became a key for him joining Venom, because obviously Mantis Jeff wanted to record his band, and if he took Conrad, he worked in a studio, so that was like, get in, you've just won. Yeah, you won. Right.
Well, and also Cronus, he like created logos for bands. I hear more lore about him creating logos for some of the bands on Neat, the more I read into it. Did he do that?
I think that might be a horse we shouldn't ride down the street.
Because, and that's I'm not trying to put words in people's mouths. It's just things that I've heard.
Yeah, a lot of it's folklore. Abaddon drew the first Atomkraft logo for our first album.
Wow, yeah, and he's creative.
Well, he has a creative. I mean, not the best creative mind, but he is creative. They all are creative and quite inventive. It was a very inventive time. You know, we didn't have internet, but we didn't have access to technology, so it was a pencil with a ruler and a photocopier, and that's how we built everything. And the only reason that Abaddon did our logo for the album was because I was in the studio and I'd done the artwork, the cover artwork. And I had a logo, but it was at my flat, and that was about 3 miles away. And the studio owner, Dave Woods of Neat Records, said, "Right, I need your logo because I need to put it on this." And I said, "Oh, it's at my flat." And he went, "Well, can you get it?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'll have to walk because I don't have any money. So it'll probably take me a couple of hours." And he went, "Fuck, a couple of hours? I need it now." So Abaddon just grabbed a pencil and a ruler, did this thing on a piece of paper, and went, "That'll do." And I was like, "But it's shit." But it went anywhere, and that was the. And I think Conrad, he did the Blood album. I think he helped them mix that. But you know, again, a lot of that stuff gets mullered into like, I created this and I did that, and they didn't really do that, you know. But they were there at the time. But I mean, my thing is always like, you don't have to blow a horn that you can't play when you already have a horn that you do play. You know, it's like, you know, the king of the world doesn't need to prove anything else. He's the fucking king of the world. So it's like, you know, I think there's sometimes when you look back in the history, people tend to add things on to their character to make it even better than it was. when it's already good and doesn't need any more tinsel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
the
do.
tree already
Yeah.
looks good. You don't need to fucking cover it in paint as well.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
do.
good
Well,
tree. So
that turns out to be just a human, whether it be a
yes,
flaw or a nervous tick
yeah.
or something to just embellish the story so it looks great on the other end when you might be worried about it, even though there might not be a reason to worry about it.
I think that's it, Jay. It's,
Yeah.
me and you go fishing. You catch a fish after 4 days. Everybody else has been in the same pond and caught
Yeah.
fuck all, and you catch a fish. But not only is it a fish, it's a fucking big one. I said, by the time we start off, it's this big, and by the time we finish the story, it's the size of a fucking shark. And
Yeah.
and it's just human nature. We
Yeah.
expand it a little bit, because we
Yeah.
want to be more and more impressive until it actually becomes. Now you've just changed the whole thing.
But
Now it isn't even true.
That sure does sound like regular daily life in our world.
Everybody does it. Everybody does it.
It's kind of interesting.
You mentioned Atomkraft, and
Yeah.
it's interesting that your connection to Kronos and the parallels that will follow from the
Yeah.
early age, and the parallels that will follow. But sticking with Atomkraft for a minute, you guys put out multiple releases, three full lengths and a couple demos and an EP or something to
Yeah.
that effect. And you did some pretty significant tours. You were out
Yeah.
with Venom and Exodus, and I think later you went with Nasty Savage, and there was a run
Nuclear
with
Assault,
Nuclear
Slayer.
Assault.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty substantial. And I have to admit, as an American, I wasn't very aware of Atomkraft, to be honest
No.
with you. But it sounds like across the pond, you guys had some momentum. So, in your eyes, looking back on it, would you agree that you were, you had some traction and some momentum? And if so, why did it stop?
Well, I think it was. I think we were proto thrash, so we were before extreme music, before Venom releases. I guess we weren't satanic, but we were kind of in the same kind of vein, thinking the same way. Probably why it brought me so close to what Venom was doing,
Right.
because I liked that noise, that aggression. For me, I always pictured us in my band when I began. That was a cross between the Dickies meets Motorhead down a dark alley, and they both have a fight, and that's what comes out of it.
Yeah.
So I love the speed of the Dickies, and I love the noise and the power of Motorhead, and I wanted to fuse that together. So that was kind of my take, and it took me what? So it took about 5 or 6 years before, doing demos and stuff, before we got near making a record. And most of the stuff on the first record in '85 was kind of older stuff. But by that point, Extreme had exploded. You had your Metallicas, your Slayers, and, the Bay Area was like this cacophony of this amazing thrash. Europe had exploded with Destruction and Sodom. Everybody was getting deals, and we were late to the table. So particularly with dragging a bag with old songs in it, it kind of lost its momentum. So our impact was lessened. But we did do remarkable things. We were the first British band to go behind the Iron Curtain, and we were the only band to play Slayer's only first show in the UK. And we did amazing tours, like I say, with Nuclear Assault and Nasty Savage, and we did amazing things. Sadly, we never got to America, and I think that because we were on Neat Records, we were kind of sub to Venom. Venom were the big boys, and they kept us where we should be, below that. So they would take us out on a tour, and we could open or whatever. So there was always a focus on them and not so much on us. Of course, they had massive impacting albums, so why wouldn't they? And they were long before ours. So, but I'm a workhorse, I'm a workaholic, and I'm a Trojan. So, I was doing it for the love of doing it and for the fans. And so I just kept on going. But I think by 1988, where we had several bits out, done okay in Europe, and we'd go to Holland and do great shows, and Germany and great shows, and the UK we did great shows. We didn't have the money to go anywhere else, and we had to rely on the label, who didn't really want to put the money in. And we were too young. I couldn't figure out how does it work, how to do it. If I'd had a John Zazula or a Brian Slagle or something like that, then maybe they'd have told us how to do it, because they did it for Metallica and Slayer and Anthrax and Testament, but Overkill. But yeah, we didn't have that, so nobody really knew what the fuck we were doing. We were all just waking up every day and going, right, let's record something. Right, let's play a show. And it was kind of like ad hoc, really. And I think that affected the whole British scene. The money wasn't there. Everybody was kind of doing it DIY. And it only went as far as you could go before people start giving up. And I just didn't want to give up. And then at 88, we did the best tour we'd ever done, with the most great responses, and a new album in the bag ready to go out for to do a new label deal for somebody else. And I thought that gets us out from underneath the Venom cloak. And then my singer, who I had at the time by that point, decided he wanted to leave. The guitarist who was there, he decided he wanted to leave. And I just thought, oh, fuck this. I'm too tired. I've done this for 10 years. I don't want to start again. And then I get a phone call from Abaddon and Eric Cook, who were managing Venom, and the rest is a different kind of history, but still the history, yeah.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool. It's almost like and I don't. You may have some insight, of course, but it would, to me. I who else were they going to call? Because you were already in the fold. Right?
Yeah, and I think
you were already standing there, and they knew what you could do already. So
I think that was their take too. I mean, that's certainly what they gave to me, was that Possessed wasn't. I mean, War with Satan wasn't black metal or Welcome to Hell, but it was still held its own. I loved that album.
Me too.
Possessed was weakened. Mantis decided to leave. They were kind of felt they lost their way a little bit. So it was a weaker received album. And then they did Calm Before the Storm, which was not well received. And I think they felt that they definitely lost their way. Then Kronos decided he wanted to move to Boston with the two guitarists and maybe be a kind of Van Halen-y type of thing. So he'd have to go solo. And so he wanted to change the shape of what he did. And which left Abaddon and a record deal. So that's when they called me, and that was the pitch they gave to me. Listen, we need to find out where we were. We lost it somehow. We lost our way. You know all the songs. You can play all the songs. You can sing all the songs, and you know us as people. So you know what you loved about Venom and what people loved about Venom. So could you get us back to that? Could you write some stuff in that vein? So for me, it was amazing. And subsequently over the years, sometimes people had said to me, oh, did it feel like stepping into Kronos's boots? And I said, I didn't step into anybody's boots. I wear my own fucking boots. I said, but I didn't consider that anyway. I thought Conrad wants to go and do his thing. Great, good luck. And they want me to step in with my friends into their band and continue. And I thought, right, I get to write some new material. I don't have to worry about the Atomkraft situation. And I get to play those great songs that I love, the Die Hards, Live Like an Angel, Poison, all that shit. And I thought, wow, who wouldn't want to do that with their friends? So I didn't actually consider I was replacing Conrad at all. I was just, he didn't want to do it, I'll do it then. And I was having fun doing it. And I think it was only when the Primeval album dropped and the press came to the listening session and they were going to review it and they wanted to talk to me about it and the details, that I actually had started to dawn on me what I was doing, going, oh shit, yeah, now I'm the guy who's playing bass and singing. Oh fuck, and now we got to go out on tour. And the fans are going to go, well, I don't know, or like it. And I was very lucky. The album, the album did really well. It got great reviews. And when we went out on tour, the fans all turned up and we played great packed shows, and they accepted it completely. It was almost as if there'd been a bit of a hiccup, and then we turned the page, and they just went, as long as we've got a Venom, which is my mantra, I don't want there not to be a Venom in the world. So they accepted that too. So it worked out really well. but at no point had I considered I was replacing anybody or trying to be somebody else. I just didn't want it not to happen. I didn't want it not to be there.
Well, it sounds like when Brian Johnson came in and saved the day. It sounds like when Sammy Hagar came and saved the day. It sounds like, when something's not working or that, the other guy just can't be there. It's like, hey man, come over and help us. Come to dinner and just stay.
Exactly.
And just stay for a while and help us do the dishes and shit.
Exactly.
I was going to ask
an important movement, and if I may say, I'm sorry, Dave, hold that thought. Is you said, people thinking or suggesting that you were stepping into these large shoes. That's just a perception by a fan, and it's the way that I feel like they say or feel about the new guy. You're not, but you're not really a new guy, which is which is where I was going with it at the beginning. You were already there. You just got invited to dinner because somebody had to go.
Exactly. Yeah, my association had been so close.
Yeah,
and even my drummer in Atomkraft was the brother of the manager of Venom.
Wow.
And he drum teched for Abaddon on the first New York show that they'd done. Yeah. So it wasn't like we were strangers. It wasn't like I'd just been walking past and someone had shouted out a window, "Hey man, do you want to do something?"
Well, it was family time.
Yeah. That's a key point, Jay, because regardless of them bitch slapping each other and all of the mud they threw from the buckets at each other over the years, I consider every single one of us, including anybody who likes any point in Venom, as family. It's all one big, dirty, bastard, black, ugly family. And I love that, and it's important, and I want to keep it important, much like a Motorhead was so important to me, and the people, because the characters are now not there, the people carry that flag, and that's why it's so important. We have to keep that burning because it meant something. It really meant something.
The same with Venom is what you're saying. The same with Venom. They're always, I cannot imagine a world without Venom. And I like how you mentioned Motorhead because they did it.
Yes.
So
totally.
So we could.
Yes, exactly. You can see things with Lemmy, they didn't sell millions of records. They didn't get like Grammys for platinum records and all of that. In the 80s, they got it with the Ace of Spades. But if you think of everybody thinking of Lemmy as an icon, and look at his apartment in Los Angeles, and he was the first one to say when he died, I think his estate was worth $200,000 or something. So he wasn't living the life of a king as a millionaire, but when Lemmy walked in a room, everybody bowed down. If he turned up at a festival, everybody wanted to go and say hi to Lemmy. There was an importance in what he was doing, and he realized that as well as everybody else. And some things are just more valuable than money, and the connection through our art with people is the whole point of everything. I always, I've been saying recently, the things I need out of life are food and sleep. The rest is just stuff. I don't need that, but I do need people. I do want people, and that's the reason I keep doing it. To meet new people, to talk to new people, to hear their stories, to connect through our music. And if that inspires the next generation to want to do the same thing as I was inspired, and the people before me were inspired, then so be it. That's it,
You're making this very emotional, romantic point right now, Tony. You're really talking to the heart.
Yeah,
when you say these things.
If someone once said to me, "Who's your favorite guitarist?" and I was like 21, 22, and I said, "Oh, I don't know. I fucking don't really listen to them." And they said, "Yeah, but who's your favorite, solo? Your favorite solo?" And I said, "I don't know. If the solo works, if it just is a good solo, I don't know." And then I sat. And I was watching Gary Moore at the Newcastle City Hall, and he played into a solo, and I watched him do Parisian Walkways, and he closed his eyes, and he opened his mouth, and he just started playing, looking into nowhere. And all of a sudden I realized it was coming from his soul. It wasn't just technically through his fingers. He wasn't just performing. He was playing. And then
You know what I
years
call
later,
that? You know what I call that? Levitation.
yeah, yeah. It's next dimension stuff.
It's transcendent
transcendent, yeah.
of Earth. It's not
Yes.
at that moment. And if people are not understanding what you just created with your story here,
Yeah.
it means they don't know how to really listen. They're there to
They're not connecting yet.
They're there to look cool and have a pint. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And there's nothing wrong with looking really cool and throwing your chips.
No,
and stuff,
that's
but
fine.
it's like
That's fine.
if you allow yourself to connect to it, truly connect to it, you go somewhere else. Something else happens completely. It's like when we do shows, and I know when I've connected to the audience because the energy changes. I feel the energy coming off them, and it's like then that puts more energy into me to give back, and all of a sudden you have this cyclic sort of, we're all on the same wavelength, and it just goes somewhere else. It becomes more than a show, and you can do that to one person at the front. There could be 30 people at your show, and one person comes out and goes, that was the best show I've ever seen in my life, and you go, there was only 30 people there, because it doesn't matter how many people are there, 300,000, 3 million, or 30. When you connect, you just connect, and that's all there is. I mean, I sat at the Albert Hall, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 people. BB King was there, and he played one note on Lucille, one fucking note. And he said, I'm going to make you cry. And he played this note, and it was like the sweetest sound. And then he went, he started getting emotional. He went, do you feel like crying? And everybody's like, yeah, fuck, that's sad as fuck. Then he went, I'm going to make you smile now. Kept the same note and then was playing it. Then put a big smile. He went, now do you feel happy? He was like, yeah. How'd you do that with one note? You can make you sad or happy. It's because it comes from you. It comes from you. It's like your voice, It's like you telling a happy story or a sad story. People emotionally connect to that, and they can feel if they're empathetic, they feel your emotion. And that's what music is. It's your voice. It's your voice. So if you put yourself into it, that's what they get out of it.
I'm sure that Gary played more than one note.
Oh yeah, he definitely did. Yeah, busted. Yeah,
he's so good.
Yeah.
He's a bed of flowers.
Yeah,
and BB King only needs one flower to make you.
He just needs one flower. Yeah,
I think I just want to say real quick, Angus Young can do that too.
Oh yeah, totally.
One note guitar solo. Yeah.
You know who else can do that? David Gilmour can do that.
Gilmour
Dave,
my God, yeah. Oh fuck, yeah.
And that's it. You could be Yingwi Malmsteen or BB King and still create that kind of emotion. One with a 5 million notes and one with one note.
Yeah.
And it's like it depends what you're doing with that, and it depends on who you are and what you're putting into it. That's the connectivity. Everybody can play a song, but that technically fantastic and it sounds good, but real players put themselves into it. It's their personality. It's the Eddie Van Halens or the Stevie Vais or the Billy Sheenans. It's like, wow, it's an extension of who you are, anybody who watches like someone like Geddy Lee in Rush, where he's singing, playing the fucking tambourine, the bagpipes, the fucking guitar, the bass, and the keyboard all at the same time. It's like, what the fuck? What's going on there?
I just call that alien.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, he's
it's
from
like,
another...
oh my God, you can't be much more music than playing everything yourself at the same time. It's like, wow.
Is he really a human being? It's
exactly.
Crazy, man.
Just
obviously he is. Yeah.
Yes. And the worst thing is he's good at everything. Twat.
Yeah. David, you had a thought.
I did. I had a couple actually, but Tony is, as he's speaking, he's answering the questions that I had for him.
Of course.
I was going to ask, basically, I think he answered a couple of them, but here's one for you. When Venom, when it morphs into Venom Inc. I read somewhere, I think, that there was another band name you were possibly considering to sort of distance yourself from the history of Venom, but obviously that didn't happen. So what's the thought process there? Because you mentioned earlier you can't imagine a world without Venom, so that makes me believe you got to stick with Venom in some form or fashion. But on the other hand, you kind of want to build your own identity, et cetera, et cetera. You tell me, how did that discussion go?
Well, yeah, it was the kind of thing. A guy called Oliver Wisehammer had seen me play a retro show for Atomkraft, play the whole album. I was invited to play the show. Could you play the whole album? I thought, fuck, we never ever did that. So I thought, oh, that might be interesting. So I got a couple of players to help me out. Paul Caffrey from Gamma Bomb, a thrash band out of Ireland, and a guy called Crane Meyer from Denmark, who was in a band called Sacrificial at the time, but went on to a band called Artillery, also thrash. Friends of mine. So I said, would you come and help me out? We'll just do it as a three-piece. So we did the album rehearsals. Mantis was there. And so I said to Jeff, you should jump up and play something. He said, well, I always like this song, Pour the Metal In. So I said, well, play that. And he went, yeah, but I like Heat and Pain. I went, fucking play both of them then. So we did the show. He got up on stage and played the songs with us. We had a great fun. There was no pressure doing it. It was just for fun. And after that, the next day, I got an email from a guy called Oliver Wisehammer out of southern Germany, who does a run of festivals called Keep It True, Keep It True Rising.
Yeah, and, I know Oliver. He's great.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah.
And he just said to me, Tony, I loved seeing the band and you got Mantis up, which was great. Did you know that Abaddon was in the audience? I did, but I said, no, I had no idea. Because they weren't talking to each other. So I don't want to go into all that.
Sure.
So I said, no. And he said, well, I've got this festival. It's about 2,000 fans. And I just thought, if I booked your band and you came to play and Abaddon just happened to be there, what's the chances of you playing 4 or 5 Venom classics just for the fans? So I said, well, okay, yeah, that would be cool, but it would never happen because there's no way I could get Mantis to agree to have Abaddon there. But he said, but you could make it happen. And I said, yeah, but that's too big of a task, and I don't think I've got the energy. And he was like, please, you could do it, just for the fans. So eventually he convinced me, and I said, okay. So I asked Abaddon, who wasn't doing anything. He said, of course, yes. I asked Mantis, and his first words were, fuck off, nowhere. So I thought, right, well, that's not going to happen. So I said to All, look, it's not going to happen, All. And he said, oh, please, come on. So then I managed to talk Mantis down, and we agreed that we'd turn up, play our set, then Abaddon would join us, and we'd play 5 songs, and that would be it. We'd just all go home, everybody's happy, Oliver got what he wanted, blah, blah, blah. But then I thought, well, Jeff didn't want to use our band name, which was Empire of Evil at the time. And so I thought, okay, well, we got to come up with a name then. And so Mantis said, what about Iron and Steel, which is a line from the single Die Hard, just to give people a connection. So I was like, okay, yeah, we could just say that. That's what it's called. And then I spoke to my agent who said, that's shit name. You've got to have something that's connected to Venom. So I was like, well, we can't call ourselves Venom because Kronos is out doing Venom and we're not Venom. And so, I was in that debate, and he kept going on about the connection. And I said, well, what about Venom Incorporated? Meaning that everything we've done musically and all the Venom that we've all done, independent of each other or together, we can do whatever we want. We can play any song that we've ever recorded, because it's incorporated into who we are.
Yeah.
So that was it. So we called it Venom Incorporated, Iron and Steel. It's going to be 5 songs, end of story. And I get to the venue, the T-shirts turn up, and they just say Venom Inc. And I was going, that says Venom Inc. Yeah, it's incorporated. They went, yeah, but do you know how long that word is? The T-shirt, it didn't fit.
Yeah.
So we just made it Inc. And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay, well, that's cool. Still had Iron and Steel on. And we played the show, 5 songs. I came off, and Olive Van, SPV, and Yap from Nuclear Blast and labels were there. Everybody going to me, that was genius. That's genius. Great marketing strategy. And I was like, what marketing strategy?
Yeah.
They went, the Venom Inc. thing. And I was like, right, yeah, brilliant. Thinking, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah.
But everybody loved it. It went mad. I went to bed. We'd done it. That's it. It's over. The next morning I got up. I was offered a tour of China, a tour of Japan, a tour of Australia, a tour of South America. Everybody was just going, we saw it online. You guys are going to go out on tour. So I was thinking, well, no, there was no plan to do that. But I thought, well, it was kind of fun. We enjoyed it. So I thought, okay. So I went to breakfast, saw the 2 guys and said, listen, this is what's on the table. I figure maybe 15, 18 months, just live shows, no album. We don't get into any arguments over publishing or writing and none of that bollocks. We just go out, play live. We can play any songs we want. What do you think? Maybe we'll make a bit of money. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. So that was it. We were born. And the first T-shirt run went out with Venom Inc. Iron and Steel. And every shirt after that just went Venom Inc, Venom Inc, Venom Inc, because everybody dropped the Iron and Steel thing. And that's kind of how it was born. Completely driven by fans. Oliver Weishammer got me to put it together. And that was it. And so when we went out on tour, because there was a criticism over, they're trying to be another Venom and they're playing Venom songs and stuff. I just basically went to the fans online. Listen, if we come out to you, you tell me what you want to hear. And they gave me the list of songs. So all of our set lists for the first 3 years were all chosen by the fans from where we were going. And those were the songs we played to them. If they said, we want this obscure B-side, we played it. If they said they want a Manitou, and, I managed to play every song off Welcome to Hell, every song off Black Metal, every single, almost every B-side but 2. And we were digging into what we're seeing and then moving towards Possessed. And my idea was like, fuck it, we'll just play from the very beginning all the way through the catalogue to where Conrad is now. And then he's already doing that. So, we don't need to go any further than that. But that was the idea, just for the fans, just for the music. And, while they were split up, while they weren't together, people could see Kronos doing his thing. They could see Mantis with me doing his thing, but they couldn't see Abaddon. So I thought, well, if I have to have all the bricks thrown at me and the shit put on my doorstep for doing it, but people get to see those 2 characters, then they can see everybody. They can see Kronos when he does his thing, and they can also see Abaddon and Mantis when we do our thing. And that was my impetus.
Well, when that was happening at the same time, because I want to say that it wasn't long after, or it wasn't long before, and either way, my brain's upside down. First off, when I saw Venom Inc. Here in Austin, and we met prior to that, what you just sort of blasted us with this imagine the ultimate Venom set list. That's what it was. That's what I got to see that night. And, I'm going, wow, this guy's really killing the Cronus up here. This is fantastic, because I didn't know who you were. But the voice, you had the tone, you had, you were obviously in the family as we've procured here, but that's exactly what it was. It was like a mixtape of my favorite Venom moments. Yeah. You had Witching Hour, you had Bloodlust, you had, I got it all. Acid Queen, you had these things that wow. But then, like I said, either post or after that Venom Inc. show, I saw Cronus came through Austin and played.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
He played a festival called Fun, Fun, Fun.
That's right.
And so everybody got to see Cronus, and they got to see Jeff, and they got to see Tony. They got to see everybody who created Venom and changed our lives in 1980.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the point. That was the point. And to go that, Venom wouldn't tour, so you're not going to see, you're not going to see them. And if they do tour, because at that point we weren't, the idea was not to make a record, was that instead of promoting a new record where you might get 1 or 2 Venom classics, but that might be it, the freedom I had was I could pull out deep cuts that you would probably never hear on a tour anyway, or would never have thought you would hear. I had the freedom to do that. And sometimes I had to convince them that it was going to work, like we did Lady Lust or Dead of the Night. And they'd be like, what? Nah, fuck, a Red Light Fever. But then we'd play them and they'd realize that the songs have their own impetus, and the response from the fans was so good that they became favorites to play. Sons of Satan, which I still do today as an encore, as a tribute to us as fans of music, extreme music, and say, if they say we're bad, then okay, let's be bad. We're all the Sons of Satan then. And it's a tribute to everybody who supported the band. Initially going, let's do Sons of Satan, they'd be like, what the fuck now? We've got like 7 Gates of Hell and all these great songs to do. But it became something really important and the crowd responds to it. It became part of our identity. So that's why I wanted to make those classics, the stuff that you wouldn't think you were going to hear, and then feel the joy of that,
Yeah.
So you mentioned the word freedom just a minute ago, and I was going to ask you, Venom Inc. is now established. Obviously you're built on the foundation of Venom, but you've become your own animal. And then, as we all age and mature a little bit, we start, if you're a songwriter such as yourself, you have to I'm guessing you still have to be aware of what the fans and the name brings as far as an expectation. So what do you do with all the stuff that doesn't fit into the Venom Inc. mold? Because I know a creative type like yourself, you probably come up with a song strumming the acoustic guitar one day and you go, this is great, I want people to hear it, but it's definitely not a Venom Inc. song.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I think where Jeff would be writing, and he'd be writing constantly, he would put stuff to one side and then put other stuff to another side. So he would kind of departmentalize the things. This might work towards that. That maybe not so much. For myself, I always let the music dictate what's happening. So I look to the ether, to the art god, whatever it is.
Sure.
So I don't preconceive everything. I don't try and manipulate anything. If I'm going to be writing for a Venom Inc. song or for Venom Inc. whatever, then I sit down and that's what I'm going to do. What happens is the music starts to come and it's in that vein already. So I don't kind of strum something and think, oh, that's really nice. That's kind of acoustic-y. I could make that work into something. If I'm doing that, that's for another purpose. So much like when I approach the lyrics, I try not to title songs so much. I try not to judge the lyrics, what it's going to say, because the music will tell me. If I'm once I have the music and I have a rough outline, I'll put my headphones on, let the music play, and it kind of starts telling me the words. It tells me what it wants to say. So it's almost like, if you hear the beginning of a song with no lyrical content and there's an emotional attachment, like the sun's going down and the music's playing and you feel all wistful, or you kick the fucking door in, you get in the house and you just put on your Ram on Black Flag or something, that those first 4 bars or something just make you go, ah! There's no connection other than the music. So what they then say kind of fits with what the music is saying. And so that's how I approach everything. If I'm sitting down purposely to write something for Venom Inc., that's what comes out. It's connecting to that inner person. I once came off stage in it was upstate Washington, not far from the border with Canada, and small stage. I had to come off the side and I had to bump past people to get round to get out. And there was this big guy, looked like Father Christmas, he's like 6 foot, massive white beard, giant of a man. And I had to squeeze past him, and I'm only dinky, so I squeezed past this guy. And while I went past it, I could see he looked like he'd been crying. So anyway, I went out. We came back on to do encore. I squeezed past him again. I'd check his face because I thought that guy looked like he'd been crying. And yeah, he'd been crying. So I get on stage. We do the encore. I come back out again. And as I pushed past him, I said, I'm really sorry. And the guy went, it's okay. And I went, yeah, man, you look like you've been crying. Are you okay? And he went, fuck, you did that. And so I think, oh, shit, I think this guy's a bit too big, so maybe I should just fuck off. So I went backstage. And then as I came back out to get some equipment, he was still there. And I said, hey, man, I'm sorry. You said I did that. He went, you did. And I said, oh, fuck, did I hit you with a bass or something? Hey, I'm really sorry, man. I didn't mean to make you cry, thinking this fucking lumberjack, And he went, no, when you played Live Like an Angel, the first time I ever heard that, I was 14 years old. And when you played it tonight, I felt like I was 14 years old. Wow. And it made me cry. And I thought, that's the whole point. Inside us, we're still that kid. We're still that person who heard that song. And you could be in a fucking McDonald's. You could be in a Subway. You could be driving on the freeway. You could be in an office somewhere. You could be in a shopping mall. And if you hear that song that was this song that made you go, shit, stop the world. Whatever this is, I love it. You'll feel exactly that. You'll feel exactly that. Like that old, that kid, that whatever it is with those emotions. And that's the beauty of our music. It's just why fans get protective. about, their bands going, yeah, but they meant something to me there. This all sucks because those people aren't that people. And that's what's important to me
Yeah.
because we connect ourselves to that moment. And
That's
so
turned into what some people called gatekeeping.
yes, gatekeeping. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But you can open that gate if you play from your soul.
Yes.
If I'm singing a song and I'm just painting the picture, I'm just joining the dots, but I don't mean it, then they go out going, yeah, it didn't do it for me. But if I go on and I'm chewing on that fucking apple and fucking giving it everything I've got and I'm laying down my soul for it, then it means something. That's when they relate to it because that's what happened to them. That's the experience they had. So when I'm writing music, I have to forget where I parked my car. Don't worry about my electricity bill. Forget what the wife just told me I had to do. Forget that I haven't fed the cat or the dog. Forget that I was supposed to do something yesterday morning that was really important. I have to just be that inner kid with that music, privately, alone, experiencing it. And then the music just comes and it comes genuinely. And then I let it dictate what it wants to do. It uses my fingers and it uses my mind to shape it, but it comes. So it's always there. And it's like one of those things, I saw once about great art. Is the painter, a Van Gogh or a Monet, are they painting on the canvas or are they taking away the white of the canvas to reveal what's already there? And how I see music is like, I see visuals are always in music, poems are always in music, music is always in image, and so I think that the music is already there. Everything I'm going to ever write is already there around me, and I just have to rub the marks off and see it. And then when I see it, I go, yeah, but what does it mean? And then it tells me what it means. As soon as I start committing it to, tape or to digital format, then I can hear what it wants to say. It's angry. It's pissed off. It wants to talk about war. And so my focus is nearly always, we talked about history and people, and I draw from that. I draw from humanity, because we create our world. We make the decisions, the good ones and the bad ones. We're our devil and we're our hero. We're our God and we're our Satan at the same time. So we are everything we create images to be and blame other things, but it's us doing it. And that is fascinating how we can devastate, on the first day of the Somme, hundreds of thousands of young men, and at the same time build the Empire State Building. I mean, fuck, it's like we can be so incredible and go to the moon. And on the other hand, we can, I don't know, slaughter a load of people in a field, in a trench somewhere and bury them under the ground or burn them in a fucking oven. It's like, how the fuck can we do those two things, something so incredible and something so heinous at the same time? Because we're all born shitting ourselves and sucking on our mum's nipples. So it's like, it's not like, you're born with a fucking cranial mastermind plan to control the world. And yet somehow some of us end up in that vein. I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
And so all my stories, I guess, are related to that in somehow.
It's the age-old battle of good and evil, and it's interesting that as you say, we have both inside of us, and it's like which side takes over and which side dominates that ends up producing the outcome, good or bad.
Totally. You're in a car lot. It's in a Walmart. You both go for one space. That guy tries to edge in. You got a choice. Do I just let him go and find another one, or do I go fuck you and I pull in? Well, I let him go. Just there you go. If it's so important, you can park there. I'll park somewhere else, or we can get out and have a confrontation. You make that decision. Do I want to be good or do I want to be bad? How much energy is it going to take me to tell him to go fuck himself? Then we have an argument. Then I get to park in there. And then we walk around Walmart staring at each other across the fucking jeans aisle, like hating each other. I'm
getting tired just hearing the story
exactly.
about it.
It's like, fuck it. Takes me 2 minutes to just go, fuck it, you have it. I'll park over there. And then everybody's happy. Simple.
Right. If you're in America, you get shot and killed in the park.
Well, you could, exactly. Yeah. I was in Miami once, and I had to turn around. You know what? Because you can split through the central reservation and turn round to do a U-turn. And I was pulling down, and I got parked, trying to pull round outside Miami Airport, and there was traffic was coming up the road, so I waited a bit longer than normal, you know. And this guy was blamming on the horn behind me, you know, and I was just trying to ignore it, and he kept blamming. And I just took my hand and went, "Oh, fuck you." It was like, fuck, you can see the traffic. As I pulled around, I came level with him, and he was about to U-turn. And he had a gun. He was just like rattling around like that. And I thought, uh-oh, fucking hell, you're not in fucking Newcastle now, Tony. I was like, put your foot down, fucking hell. He's going to shoot me because I didn't pull out in front of the traffic. I thought, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. Yeah, but you learn your lesson pretty quick to go, just be nice to everybody. And then it's okay.
So tell us real quick, we're going to wrap it up here in a little bit, Tony. I could talk to you for hours and hours, if not days. But tell us a little bit about how you got into acting. Were you in theater when you were young, or did you just like turn up somewhere on a list of to be the sideshow or the backup man, or because you were tell us about your character work in Judge Dredd and Master and Commander, if you will.
Well, again, another sort of, you know, I guess it's a kind of an example of like just challenge yourself, test yourself, and say yes and see what happens. You know, I was a theatre technician working backstage in theatre, and I joined the Royal Shakespeare Company, moved to London, and we were on a world tour, 15-month tour of the planet, and I was the carpenter in charge of the set. And I came to work one morning in India. It was in New Delhi, I think. I went to work, and the stage management were outside, all kind of seemed panicked, something had happened. And I said, "Is everything okay?" And they went, "Yeah, we got a major problem." I went, "Fuck." I thought initially it was the set. Something had happened to the set. You know, maybe someone broke in and busted up some stuff. And they said, "No, one of the actors is, you know, they're real sick, so they can't go on tonight." So I said, "Okay, well, we're in India. Shakespeare's like, they love Shakespeare. They all speak English. We can get an Indian actor." They went, yeah, but we figured that, you know, you keep quoting this show. It was a show called Comedy of Errors. I said, yeah. They said, "But you've been quoting the show, every line from the show for like 10 months. I said, "Well, yeah, because I love Shakespeare and I know this play very well." They went, "So we're thinking, why don't you go on?" And I was like, "Me? What? Are you fucking kidding?" And they went, "Well, you know, you're here. It would be easy. You know, just put the costume on and just do it." And I was like, "Well, I suppose I could." And I thought, well, why not? Because if I'm shit, I'm in India. Who the fuck's going to know? And if I'm okay, then at least I've done some Shakespeare, which was like, that would be cool.
I'm impressed. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did it. And that was it, just one night. And they all said, "Oh, thank you so much. You helped out." So it was brilliant. We carried on, and that was over. At the end of the tour, 15 months later, I end up back in London. And my phone goes, and my partner at the time, she said, my partner said, "Oh, there's a phone call for you. It's the artistic director from the Young Vic Theatre." So I call up, and it's Tim, who was the director, and he said, "Hey, Tony, yeah, how you doing? Yeah, great. Oh, how's the show going? Yeah, brilliant. We're in London. Yeah, I know, yeah." And then he said, "Remember when we were in India and you went on stage and did that thing for us?" I said, "Oh, yeah, of course, fucking hell. Yeah, I remember." He said, "Okay, well, we've got a similar problem for the next 4 or 5 days." And I just went into the dressing room and I asked the actors, I said, "Do you know anybody who could come in at the last minute and do this part, who knows the play?" And they went, "Tony Dolan." So he said, "So do you fancy doing it?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess." So he said, "Okay, can you get down here at 3 o'clock?" I was like, "Fucking hell, I'm on tonight." He was like, "Yeah." So I went down. When I got there, I did vocal warm-up and everything. I said, Tim, listen, I'm going to do this for you as a favor, but can you teach me how to do this properly?" So he said, "Okay, I will. Thank you so much." So I helped them out. And then I started doing workshops with him. Next thing I know, I've got an agent. They're all saying to me, "Well, you can't do this professionally because you don't have any training and you don't have this, you're too old," and blah, blah, blah. So within 2 months, I had an agent. I'd done these classes. I had an agent, and I was on the set the first night with Richard Gere and Sean Connery. And then the week later, I was on the set of Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone and Armand DeSanti. And then and it just went from there. And so when people were going to me, "How did you kind of do it?" I was going, I've got no fucking idea. I was like hit by a lucky truck or something like that, you know? So yeah, just went in and I enjoyed it and it was cool. And even when I did Master and Commander, I got that gig, which was a great one with Russell Crowe and Paul Bettany, you know, and that was directed by Peter Weir, who'd just done Truman Show. And I was working for Queen. I was putting Queen's musical into a theatre in London, and my agent called up and said, you know, you need to get to Park Lane, this posh hotel. Like, can you get there in a couple of hours? And I said, fuck, when I'm working, I mean, I could do it in my lunch break. And they said, okay, yeah, do it then. So I ran up to this posh hotel, saw these people, had a bit of a chat, and then made my excuses and said, look, I'm really fucking sorry. I got to go back to work because I'm building a set at the minute for Queen. And they were like, oh, that's nice. I went, yeah, but I've got to fucking run back to work. I'm so sorry. So I left. My agent tried calling me and I wouldn't answer the phone because I thought I just made myself look like a right twat. And then the next morning I called, apologized, and she said, they loved you and they want you to fly to Mexico, to Baja, to the studio there, and in 5 months you'll be making this movie. And it was 20th Century Fox and Russell Crowe, and I was like, what the fuck? How the fuck did I get here? And what was amazing was they flew me first class to Los Angeles, LAX. And when I came out, there was everybody carrying my bags and, you know, don't worry about it, Mr. Dolan. I was like, fucking hell, I've hit pay dirt here. And then I get out to this limo bus thing, or Humvee limo that's going to take us down to Rosarito, where the studio was. And I get in the van, and the other British actors are in there, and I worked with them all on the BBC or at the RSC. So when I get in, they're going, hey, Tony, how are you? Oh, you know Tony. Oh, hey, how are you doing, Tony? I'm like, yeah. And they said, oh, my God, are you working on this movie with us? And I said, yes, I am. And they were like, oh, my God, so you like the carpenter or the engineer? And I said, no, I'm in it. And they all looked at me like, fuck off. No, you're not. And I said, no, I am. I'm in it. And they were like, fine. And then so it was amazing. It was amazing. And
Wow.
and you know, I feel so lucky that I did that. So yeah, it was amazing, but not planned. But
Wow.
just by going, challenge yourself, say yes, and see what happens. If you don't do it, you can't do it. You can always say, that's fine. At least I gave it a shot.
Yeah.
So
I'm sensing a theme here. There's been a couple times in this conversation today where you just kind of, you know, went out on a limb and took a chance, and the outcome has been, I mean, it's why we're talking to you today.
Magic.
Yeah, well, exactly. You know, you think you have a limit to what you can do, and you know, probably because of your upbringing and your parents and your teachers give you limitations and try and focus you in a direction, and your friends, you know, will say, well, yeah, but how could you do that? So you kind of close these doors on yourself, when actually if you just kick them all open, okay, you know, you might only get so far, but at least you're free to give it a go. I said two things is, if nothing after making one album had ever happened, I'd already succeeded, because as a 14-year-old boy, I wanted to make one album. And I promised myself, if I could make one album, I'd be happy about the rest of my life. I just want to make one album. And I succeeded that. But everything after that is a bonus. And I said, you know, when you jump out of an airplane at 5,000 feet, you shit your pants. It takes you forever because you can see the ground and it looks like, fucking hell, I'm going to hit that real fast if I fuck up. But when you get to 10,000 feet, 15,000 feet, 20,000 feet, you have lost the perception of the ground. So now you're flying. So it's almost like the further up you go, the easier it gets. But you have to keep going. You have to keep going for it to get easier.
Wow.
So that's my analogy for everything you do in your life.
Yeah, that's like some kung fu shit there. So you've got a tour coming up. Let's talk about your tour. And
oh, shit, I forgot about that. I was having too much fun.
Yeah, good for you.
We
fans want to know.
Yes. Yeah, well, I fly in a week's time, I think. I fly on the 3rd to Indiana to pick up our bus or home for the next two months, and then drive to Santa Ana, where the first show is in Santa Ana.
And to be clear for everyone, this is Venom Inc?
Yes, this is Venom Inc. It's the Beyond the Black winter tour. And we'll be doing 2 parts. This is part 1 because we couldn't get some shows like Seattle and Portland and some other shows. We couldn't get them in. So we're going to come back at the end of summer to do part 2, where we'll hit all the places we didn't hit now and then go into Canada. But yeah, we got a 2-week run. start in Santa Ana, California, and we end it brick by brick in San Diego, and we hit as many places as we can. Several days in Florida, we go up the coast, Vegas, San Francisco, and come back across the coast. We got New York, we got New Jersey, Delaware. You know, so it's quite extensive, and we'll be out there for 2 months. And I'm really looking forward to it. You know, I love America so much, and the diversity of places that I go to. It's like coming home. Most of the places are family and friends, and it's going to be very exciting. We have Salem's Child with us. And then I've kept the undercard open. And the idea is that I wanted, rather than bring a package and worry about the cost and money and trying to offset that, I just wanted, I'd heard so many things of stars, well-known musicians, but also local people saying to me that, oh, music, and particularly extreme music, metal music, it's just dying in America. And I thought, well, that's not fucking true. That's certainly not what I've heard or seen.
I don't
So I
believe
thought,
that.
right, if we go to every single venue and the undercard is only the best local bands that are there, and then that's going to expose them to not only to everybody else on the tour across the board, but to everybody who lives there and go, this is your scene. These are all your people. These are your bands. And they're very diverse. We've got some incredible bands on, and the diversity is right across the board. And that alone is exciting me. And out of 30 shows, which is we're doing 30 shows, I'm probably going to see, 150 bands. 150 bands, all American bands, all homegrown, all underground, all local, playing every style you can think of in extreme music. That's blowing my mind. And I get to see, obviously, old friends, like we play with Deicide and Nasty Savage down in Florida. When we get to Oakland and even through California, got lots of guests coming out from bands well known. They're going to jump up and play some stuff with us. So it's going to be really exciting, and I can't wait to get started on it. Everybody's excited about it, and I just can't wait to see everybody. Weather being permitting, everybody will be able to get to the shows.
Fantastic. Well, the the idea of having being a band from over the pond, or a New York band going over here to a different scene where they don't know everybody all the time, but the idea for the promoter, at least back in the 80s, the early 80s anyway, this was the same plan.
Yeah.
That the biggest and coolest fish in that small pond would get the opening slot because they help sell tickets.
Yeah.
Fill the room and blah, blah, blah. So this is an age-old perfect idea of what band fits this Venom Inc. tour in our scene, and maybe they can do 2 or 3 shows with them if they're playing some odd places, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That idea is strong, and to think that someone told you that extreme music is dying in America, I wonder where that comes from.
Yeah, I mean, you all I can imagine, because I hear it a lot across the planet, not just in the States. But all I can imagine is that they themselves have a band. They themselves are struggling to get some kind of recognition, and so they just consider the whole scene is fucked up, which is not quite true. And they just need to be a bit more tenacious about it. And it's like I say, when a young person goes like, how do I do it? Should I do it? And I said, well, the first thing you have to do before anything else is discover if it's you, because in order to do it, it's not going to be easy, but it never was easy. The whole Gene Simmons, I'd hate to be a band these days. It's not as easy as it was. It fucking wasn't easy then. It's never easy. You just have to know if it's who you are, because you might have to sacrifice food, sleep, comfort, family, relationships, money,
just like Gene and Paul did when they started. So how is Gene saying this thing when he created DIY? He created DIY along with the punk rockers and the Texas, Kansas City bands and the fucking CBGB bands. They created their own sound, their own place, their own map. And
and that's how it always is. And so, but some people, the people who don't go the distance or want to give up after, it could be, I've had people saying to me, I've been doing this 10 years and I'm still where I am. I said, mate, I've been doing it over 4 years and I'm still where I am.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
No.
I can't retire because it's who I am.
That's
and,
right.
when it's who you are, you don't retire from it. You're not working in the fucking post office. You're just this,
Well, these big bummers they're creating for themselves and not realizing it is the fact that it might be a little bit of imposter syndrome, and I'm guilty of that sometimes.
Yeah,
we all are. We all are. We wonder, how did I get here? Well, why are you questioning that? You're the one walking.
That's it.
It turns into like it makes me wonder why they feel that way when all they should do is do it for the right reasons. If you fall in love with something, you need to remember what it is that you fell in love with about it. And that's always going to be there for you because it shouldn't go away. Otherwise, you were just doing it as a trend.
Yeah, I mean, but that's it. I think the thing is, if you say, I want to be famous, I want to be rich, I want pussy, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it if that's your determination. Well, if you just want to play music and you love playing music and you love connecting with people, then you're going to make it. How you phrase it may be slightly different, but if you're glory hunting money and fame, you're not everybody gets to be Metallica. So, you're not, you might be setting up hurdles for yourself you can't climb over. Yeah. And then you get disillusioned that it's not happening.
Someone's expectations are too high.
Yes. I always say, that's the whole thing about the analogy about, I wouldn't, if you do your first jump out of a plane, you don't go to 20,000 feet. 15,000 feet, you don't. You jump 5,000 and then you go to 10,000 because, there's a lot more involved in jumping out higher than there is about lower, So you take it, you set your goal so that you can attain it. And if you get there, right, I've done that. Right, now what do I want to do? I'd like to push that barrier a little bit more. So you keep reaching those success markers. If somebody else measures success differently to you, they I had someone say to me once, "Oh, how did it feel, not succeeding in acting?" I was like, "Well, what do you class as not succeeding?" They went, "Well, because you're not making like major Hollywood movies." I said, "But I didn't set out to do that.
No,
I didn't set out to do that. I didn't want to live in Malibu and have my Corvette and have some, plastic woman and be eating money every weekend. That wasn't why I did it. I did it to do some Shakespeare, and I fucking do it standing on a toilet if that was my gig. Yeah. I said, so I achieved what I wanted to do. I said, everything after that is a bonus. I said, so set your goal so that you attain it, and then you can make the next decision. But if you set it too high, well, you're going to give up at some point. It's not going to be who you are. And if those are your goals, then it isn't what you're meant to do. So do it with your mates and have some fun and play the bars at the weekend and do your covers and whatever else you want to do, and even write if you want and put your stuff online. But as far as being in the industry, you're not going to make it because you don't have that mentality that it takes, and you have to sacrifice in order to do it. Yeah, 2 months will be away. I mean, how do you pay your rent? What about your loved ones? What about your friends? What if you work? I mean, can you go away for 2 months? It's like, wow, what are you going to sacrifice doing that? And you could be doing it in a bus where you've got a bunk. You could be doing it in a van where you don't, but does that stop you doing it? No. For the first 5 years of my musical career, once I'd recorded, I didn't even own a bass guitar, never mind any equipment, but it didn't stop me doing it. I just borrowed everything I could. And people would go, "You're not going to damage it, are you?" I was going, "No, absolutely, I'll look after it." Well, they don't call me the demolition man for nothing. So of course I fucked everything up. Of course I broke their stuff, but it didn't stop me doing it. And if that guy went, "No fucking way," because the last time you borrowed my amp, you pulled all the knobs off, I go to someone else, I'd say, "Can I borrow it? I promise I'll be really good with it." But it doesn't stop you. That's the point.
Are you still playing a Rickenbacker? You play a Rickenbacker?
Well, actually, I have a whole collection, but
Okay.
my two new ones were made by a Polish guy who made this Luther, who's fucking fantastic. He
Okay.
made me these two customs. He's called Wojcic's Guitar, and he's out of Poland. And he made me two basses based on the Aria Pro.
Okay,
1978,
right.
you know,
Yeah.
the Cliff Burton, if you like.
Yeah, yeah.
So I love that so much, and I have an original, and I was using that because the sound and the depth. So
Yeah.
he made me two basses based on that, but they're shaped like a Rickenbacker, and they're called the Dolan Backer.
Oh, that's what I've seen. Yeah,
Yeah, they're
okay.
fucking beautiful, absolutely beautiful. If you come out to the show, I'll show you. You love it. You have to put your hands on it and
Nice.
feel it. It's amazing.
I would love to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tony,
But
thank you. Hey, thank you so much for being here. Unbelievable stories.
Yeah.
What a sweet man you are. Thank you so much for your time. Unbelievable passion for art and music, and just big love, man. Big love. Thank you.
Well, thank you both, guys, because this was an absolute pleasure, and we got to talk about history and other stuff, and I love that as well as the music. So you gave me a great opportunity, and I'm looking very much forward to being there and to meeting you in person again, and we'll have a drink and we'll have a jaw, and yeah, we'll have some fun.
Fantastic. Come to Texas as soon as you can, and please stay in touch.
Hell yeah! Well, we're going to be in Houston. We got 3 or 4 Texas shows. Dallas. We're going to be at the House of
House of Blues.
No, the House of the new one that's just opened outside in Dallas. I think Arlington is the Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame. We're going to be there doing a signing.
Okay.
But we are playing some shows. I'll send you the details. But we're playing Dallas and Houston, and wherever you guys want to come, you're my guest. So
send the itinerary, and
I'll send it over. I'll send it straight over.
We can talk about it. Thank you, Tony.
Tony,
Awesome. Thank you so
absolute
much.
pleasure getting to meet you today. Thank you for your time. It's been amazing. Loved the history lesson and your passion for all you do. It's very evident, and we wish you continued success in all your endeavors. Acting, music, whatever you do, we wish you the best. On behalf of my co-host, Jason McMaster, I'm Metal Dave, along with our special guest today, Tony Dolan from Venom Inc. on the Top Podcast. Thank you, Tony.
Be good. See you soon. Have your breakfast now. You can have your breakfast now.
We already had it. It's right here.
We've actually got another podcast to do here in a second.
Oh, shit. Well, get on with it then.
Yeah.
Don't be so lazy.
Yeah, right?
I shall see you very soon. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
You,
of course. Have a great evening over there. Told ya.
Oh my God, he was awesome.
Dude fucking rules, right?
Totally rules. Oh my God, he was great. Yeah.
Doesn't it make you want to go try to pick him out in those movies?
Yeah, absolutely.